Today is supposed to be a complete washout, and if you live anywhere near Michigan, you are going to be thrilled that we're actually going to get rain. So today it means we are in the shop doing some maintenance. I've already started to change the hydraulic fluid back on the old Farmall 404. Now we're going to change oil on the Dingo TX 1300, and I'm going to walk you through this because this is an interesting machine to change oil on. First thing I want to do is get this outside and let it run. I want it to get up to temperature, and I want that oil to get nice and warm. The reason is because there is a drain hose in the bottom that goes from the bottom of the oil pan to the back of the machine. That hose is pretty small. This is diesel 1540 weight oil. It's going to flow through there very, very slowly unless it's warm. So we're going to get this machine up to temperature, and then we're going to make sure that we come in and let it drain for some time. Secondarily, we want to make sure we put our arms up here and put our safety pieces in place. This is going to make sure that if the hydraulics were to fail or anything happens, they're not coming down on us. They're in here. We'll open up the hood, remove the sides, and we have full access to everything we need in the engine. At this point in time, let's go pull that drain plug in back. This drain plug is in the back here. And I realize I'm getting in the light. It is a 1/4 inch Allen. Make sure it's cleaned out completely of any dirt. Sure would be nice if we get this up on the lift. Give us a little more room. Not that we need it, just be easier to film. And our oil is going to drain slow, even though it is very, very warm. Very, very slow. With the oil coming out so slowly, I decided to get out our oil extractor and put the tube down the dipstick hole just to see how much oil I could get out. That's not going to be the best way to change oil, but it's definitely a way of speeding up the process. I probably got 2.5 quarts out of there very quickly, and we'll just let the rest drain. While we're hanging out, letting the oil drain, we might as well try to work on the oil filter, which is kind of crammed in here between the wiring harness and some hydraulic hoses. It's also sitting sideways down there, so it's going to drain a fairly significant amount of oil down into the bottom. We're going to put a t-shirt down there to try to collect as much of it as we can so it doesn't end up draining out all over the floor over a period of time. If that was one thing I would change in this, it would sure be nice if that was in a little bit of a different position. Not that big of a deal, but it seems that oil filters these days are always in bad spots. If it's a car, a truck, or anything, you at least still have room to get your oil filter wrench in on this. And there comes our oil. That's it. We have the new Yanmar filter here. We'll just throw this guy back on. We did put some oil on the outside of the O-ring. We're just going to make sure we have enough there. We'll clean that area up with the t-shirt that's down there. Make sure the O-ring came off the old filter. Looks pretty good. Throw this guy back in. Some people would say throw a bunch of oil in that so that you're not starting up on a dry engine. I think in most cases here, you're going to end up with that oil coming right back out of this. So I'm putting it on dry, and I'm going to make sure that we're going to have this engine running here while it's still fairly warm, and the engine already has oil throughout it. The engine oil fill on the top of the engine is pretty much the only one accessible. There is one on the side, and it is pretty much impossible to get anything into. We're going to be careful here because this cover is dirty. I did clean the engine prior to, but it just makes sense. I pulled this filter off here, this filter housing. Pulled the filters out, and it just makes sense. It gets you a lot closer to being able to get in here. And this is a smaller funnel. We're just going to have to go fairly slow and be careful that that doesn't happen while we're filling it. I buy all my oil here in a 5-gallon bucket. This allows me to have a nice oil container to send things away on and take them places to recycle. In fact, my buddy has an oil heater. Then I use these jugs and I fill them up and I put things in. So it makes sense here. I don't have this one completely full. It's gonna make it a lot easier to start pouring in. 2.5 hours later, the oil is pretty much drained. That took a long time, including us pumping it out the side. Now we're just gonna slowly fill this guy back up. Filling it through that tiny funnel there is almost as painful as draining it, but we have 5 quarts in. I just wanna take a check here. Obviously there's not gonna be anything in the filter. We are just below the top full line. So we're gonna start this guy up. Let it run for a second, then let it sit, check it again. So we checked the oil one more time after we ran it, then we put the side guards on, took off the safeties on the top, and just put everything back together. We are set and ready to go. This is a simple oil change, but timely. And that's something that you need to take into consideration, because sometimes you need to do this stuff and you want to get right back to a job in a hurry. That's not going to be the case here. You're going to want to make sure that you have at least 2 hours, maybe do multiple different oil changes while you're doing it, and it'll allow you to take the time needed to make sure you get everything out. Now that 2 hours includes me sucking at least 2 quarts of oil out myself. If I had to wait for that to all drain, it would be much longer. And if you didn't warm it up prior to for at least a half hour, that would have been even more torturous. So make sure you follow those instructions. If you have any questions, leave them below. I think this is an amazing piece of equipment that we've done a lot with. Take care of it. It'll last you a long time. Questions, comments below. Give us a like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.